This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're coming on the air to bring you a news conference from President Trump in which he is expected to declare a national emergency to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Here is the president.
Tonight, more than 1,300 people sickened in the U.S.
Governor Gavin Newsom's order.
We direct a statewide order for people to stay at home.
Tonight, our responsibility is to save as many lives and flatten out the curve.
As air travel drops drastically during this pandemic, Hollywood Burbank Airport is saying it's shutting down one of its terminals. Starting Friday.
State of emergency, shelter in place. The story of the coronavirus changes by the hour.
We begin tonight with a nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent across America. The arrest of a former Minneapolis police officer for the murder of George Floyd, failing to stop another night of rage in that city.
From a pandemic that took hold of the world to protests over George Floyd's death, 2020 has changed us and will never be the same again. But through crisis comes opportunity, the opportunity to grow, to learn, to adapt. And that's just what Burbank has done. We've rallied together as a community and adapted by developing new ways forward. Take just 3 local businesses, for example. Liquid Sky Sports, a company known for its dynamic skydiving apparel. Urban Press Winery, a hip downtown wine boutique, and Glamorox, a stylish hair salon. 3 very different trades that rose to the challenge.
When we saw that United States was getting infected and more people were getting infected, I had the concern, and I knew that my office, that we were gonna have to shut down.
Yeah, that was a devastating day when the governor shut. One of the first things he actually mentioned in his speech was all tasting rooms are shut down.
It sucked, it was difficult, but just like any other, adversity, it's just an opportunity to adapt, grow, and step up and see how we move forward.
So we had to move, right? And I promised my staff that we would not close.
So I came up with the idea of making a mask out of a fabric that I know that the weave is very tight. And within 24 hours, we built a website.
The hand sanitizer I knew a couple weeks before that it was already becoming a shortage problem. Since we have the capability and we were able to make it, it was like, okay, let's serve our community.
A lot of our customers are, frontline healthcare workers, and they didn't feel comfortable going to work, with their grays out or not maintained. We started preparing these care packages. And basically, we would communicate electronically, and I would get some information on what I thought their needs were.
Our whole idea is not just to sell a mask. Is a person buys a mask for $25, and we make a donation of a mask.
We're all going to come back, and we're going to all be stronger from it. Hopefully, we're all doing something good.
Each of these businesses succeeded in staying afloat while helping the greater community as a whole. A community that came together and adapted together in so many ways. On March 13th, Burbank City Manager Justin Hess signed an order declaring a state of local emergency and requested that Council ratify the declaration at the next City Council meeting on March 17th.
Councilmember Gabaletti?
Yes.
Councilmember Talamantes? Yes. Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Frutos?
Yes.
Mayor Springer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Council and the City Manager then activated our Emergency Operations Center and asked the Finance Department to make resources available for the challenges at hand. Council took action to help our community cope with the ramifications of the county-wide shutdown orders. Utilizing the legal expertise of the City Attorney's Office, we put in place the eviction moratoriums and an order closing San Fernando Boulevard, allowing restaurants to move outside. These initiatives were accompanied by a meticulous effort from our Public Information Office to keep the city well informed via a dedicated COVID-19 page on our website, social media alerts, and video messages.
So the best way to prevent it is simple hygiene.
Our city's staff are essential workers, and it was vital that they continued providing essential services. Each department retooled their operations, developing new and unique ways to not only get their jobs done, but keep everyone safe. The IT department led the charge by helping to set up city employees with work-at-home solutions, as well as enable the city clerk's office to orchestrate government meetings virtually. Management services put safety protocols into place, like mandatory mask use and health screenings for all staff, while Public Works modified workspaces to keep both employees and the public safe, adding barriers where needed and social distancing markers to guide the way. Community development took to the streets, providing local businesses with the new state and county guidelines for reopening, while also establishing grant assistance programs for renters and businesses. The library established a dedicated COVID-19 hotline and answered more than 4,000 calls.
Okay, let me get that for you.
Parks and Rec continued essential services, such as their senior nutrition program, and they instituted virtual ways to play more, offering online resources to keep residents active and healthy. Burbank Water and Power helped struggling households and businesses stay out of the dark by suspending late fees and water and power shutoffs. The fire department instituted outbreak protocols, such as wearing dedicated COVID-19 personal protective equipment when responding to high-risk health emergencies. And the police department found themselves not only maintaining the peace throughout the pandemic, but also responding to civil unrest caused by the death of George Floyd. Burbank PD made a dedicated effort to address concerns, and on June 9th, Police Chief LaChasse spoke about a process going forward.
We need to sit down and discuss where we've been, where we want to be, and how we're going to get there.
Our city government wasn't the only local institution that adapted to the crisis facing our nation. From the emergency room of Providence St. Joseph Hospital to the classrooms of the Burbank Unified School District, challenges were faced and changes were made.
We had a shift to an online learning model or a distance learning model. What that means is we had to make sure that all students had technology, access to food, and then we sent home either paper packets or online assignments that students would do with assistance from teachers. And then we had great partnership with local businesses. Motion, Craig Murray, they did virtual graduations for all of our schools, and it was just phenomenal because this is a keepsake for our students.
The empty hallways of Burbank schools have been in strong contrast to the busy passageways of Providence St. Joseph. Never before has it been so obvious how vital it is to have a strong medical institution like St. Joe's in the heart of our community. They have been at the front lines of Burbank's defense against the coronavirus, beginning in March when Burbank's own patient zero, Greg Garfield, landed on their doorstep in need of life-saving help.
Just a challenging time right now.
It's what?
It's just a challenging time right now.
Because you just want to go home and you want to be home and just be...
I just wish this never happened.
I remember it was March 5th, 2020. Got a call from Dr. Kishnev, our emergency room doctor. He just said, we're getting our first COVID patient. And I took a big gulp.
This was kind of a special fear that was put into, fear of God was put into us in the emergency department. And when we heard about what our colleagues were going through in Italy and New York, that really solidified those fears for us.
When I first saw Greg, he was also very scared because he had seen what had happened to other patients with it. He was still fully awake and alert. He was only on a little bit of oxygen. We had a conversation. I told him that we would put him in the intensive care unit because of the potential that things would go bad. And sure enough, he started to go bad.
I think he was a shock to all of us because he's so young and healthy and we didn't expect him to be so sick.
A lot of people didn't expect him to survive. And I remember thinking, okay, and I told him everything's gonna be okay and he's gonna walk out of here. And then I remember there were a few days where we didn't think that was gonna happen.
Weeks down the road,
when we were able to get the breathing tube out, when we were able to get all the sedative out of his system, and he was there and he was able to follow commands, it definitely was a turning point, I think, for all of us here as a morale booster, that this isn't some big scary boogeyman that we have no chance against.
There were lessons learned. There was initially a lot of fear, and then over the period of a few months, the fear has really lessened to the point that we all take precautions, but I don't really see a lot of fear in the ER anymore. I see nurses coming to work and doing their jobs, doctors coming to work and doing their jobs.
Even though it was stressful and everybody was working hard, we were never overwhelmed, and every patient coming in with COVID got the appropriate care they needed.
Everyone here just was supporting him, wanting to see him get out of here. And he didn't let us down.
He had told me this, and I was glad to see it. He had promised me he wasn't getting wheeled out, he was gonna step out. And seeing him walk out of here, it was good for the soul.
And it wasn't just doctors and nurses cheering on the patients they helped heal. They too were being applauded. The whole community came out to recognize the medical heroes at St. Joe's, from a police fire parade outside the hospital to individual residents cheering from their front yards. These displays of support and encouragement even went beyond honoring our medical community, as many people use social media to share their good wishes and hope for the entire world. Even in the darkest of times, there are always rays of light reaching out to guide the way. We must find that light and have the resolve to shine our own to help illuminate the way for others. This is what Burbankers do. We adapt and help others to adapt, lifting each other up toward a brighter future. And we will continue to do so as we light the way for all of Burbank into 2021 and beyond.